Good afternoon and welcome to the City Club of Cleveland. My name is Paul Harris and I am president of the City Club's Board of Directors. I am very pleased to introduce today's speaker, Eric Gordon, Chief Executive Officer of the Cleveland Metropolitan School District. Mr. Gordon today presents his fourth State of the Schools address, which will be followed by the traditional City Club of Cleveland question and answer period. About 20 years ago, a prominent Clevelander wrote about the social and economic impact of out-migration, the movement of people and employers from city to suburb and from inner suburb to more distant suburb. It was a hopeful, not condemning document where the author stated that, quote, if anything, reason for hope is greatest when we face reality. So let us face it and let us join with our neighbors, public officials, and community leaders in the hopeful undertaking of building a new urban future for Northeast Ohio, end quote. In his concluding remarks, the author wrote that, quote, we can build new cities where children will be able to live in decent homes, have sufficient food, and receive an education which will prepare them for a life of meaningful employment, end quote. Now that author was Bishop Pilla of the Cleveland Diocese in his visionary piece, The Church in the City. You may not have expected to hear a quote from a Roman Catholic leader and a prelude to a talk about public education, but I think that today there's a common understanding that it is impossible to have a thriving region without a thriving core, and that education is a centerpiece of a thriving core. And as we have heard in past State of the Schools addresses, the Cleveland Metropolitan School District has embarked on its own vision, known as the Cleveland Plan, to build and sustain a thriving core. As stated at the CMSD's website, the goal of the Cleveland Plan, quote, is to ensure that every child in Cleveland attends a high-quality school and that every neighborhood has a multitude of great schools from which families can choose, end quote. The plan incorporates elements of race to the top, part of the president's stimulus money devoted to education, and includes curricular enhancements to align with the National Common Core standards as well as Ohio standards. There has been sobering news recently in the CMSD's rankings on the state's measures, but there are also tangible signs of progress, including new and redesigned schools like the Cleveland School of the Arts on Stearns Boulevard, innovative educational options, successful partnerships between the CMSD and strong charter schools, a strengthened teacher support and evaluation system, and recent evidence of increased parent attendance at open houses. Today's large City Club turnout, which tops last year's also very large turnout, serves as further evidence of the community's support for Mr. Gordon and his ongoing leadership efforts to make the vision embodied in the Cleveland Plan become a reality. I present, on behalf of the City Club of Cleveland, Eric Gordon, Chief Executive Officer of the Cleveland Metropolitan School District.
Good afternoon, and thank you for attending today's State of the Schools address. Before we begin the formal address, I just have to take a moment again. Let's really show our students from the Cleveland School of the Arts our appreciation for the string quartet and the jazz band. I hope today to make you proud that I'm your CEO. They made me proud today. So what a great way to start. I want to begin today by thanking the City Club of Cleveland for again hosting this year's event, my fourth State of the Schools address as your CEO. I'd like to take a moment to thank the sponsors listed in your program for making it possible for the City Club to host their address here at the Renaissance Hotel Ballroom, thereby expanding our audience and allowing for a number of my students and their families to be part of this event. In particular, I would like to acknowledge our presenting sponsor, Forest City, and our supporting sponsors, Key Bank, PNC, and St. Luke's Foundation. Please help me thank them for making this possible. I also absolutely want to acknowledge all of the sponsors that made it possible for my students and their schools to be here. They are listed in your program, and Dan acknowledged them earlier. Before I begin my remarks, I also want to take a moment to recognize a number of people in the audience who have been constant supporters of the Cleveland Metropolitan School District and our critically important work. First, I want to acknowledge Mayor Frank G. Jackson, who continues to be such a strong advocate for education in our community, both in long-term vision and expectations for our city's children, but also in his daily work as chair of the Cleveland Transformation Alliance and in monitoring the execution of the Cleveland Plan. Mayor Jackson, thank you. I also want to thank the members of the Cleveland Board of Education. Led by Chair Denise Link and Vice Chair Louise Dempsey, the 9 members of the Cleveland Board of Education are truly remarkable servant leaders who again over the past school year have put in countless hours in ensuring the execution of the Cleveland Plan. Several board members are here today. Please join me in recognizing them as well. I also need to thank 6,875 people. These are the CMSD educators who work in our classrooms and our schools, on our buses and in our offices, in our cafeterias and on our playgrounds, people who serve in countless ways to support our children every single day. Most of our educators are at work right now with our scholars, but a few are here today, and I ask that we take a moment to acknowledge each of them on behalf of all 6,875 of us for the hard work every single day. I'd especially like to acknowledge the members of my senior leadership team who are here with us today. A lot is expected of me and of us, and none of what we have accomplished would have happened if not for the strong work of the many effective leaders that I'm surrounded with. I often get the praise and recognition for our work when in fact it's these people in our senior leadership who execute on a daily basis, and I'm so grateful to each. Please help me thank them as well. And to our partners who helped form the Cleveland Plan and who remain highly engaged with its implementation today, including the Greater Cleveland Partnership, the Cleveland Teachers Union. I know President David Quolke and his team are with us today. The Cleveland Foundation, the George Gunn Foundation, and the Breakthrough Charter Schools, and most recently, the Cleveland Transformation Alliance led by Megan O'Brien, all constantly at work making sure that the Cleveland Plan goes from vision to reality. Please thank them as well. To the countless other friends, partners, supporters, and dignitaries in the room, there are simply too many to mention by name without missing someone who should be recognized. Each of you are worthy of recognition, and know that I offer a special thanks to each of you for your individual and collective contributions to the Cleveland Metropolitan School District and all of our schools. And on a personal note, I can only do the job that I do because someone allows me to do it. Someone allows me to work the hours it takes to do the work that this job deserves and that our scholars need. To my wife, Dawn, thank you for allowing me to serve our 40,000 children. Thank you. So 1 year ago, I began the 2013 State of the Schools address with a sobering message. We had just received our state report card, and the news was grim. Grim and all too familiar. We had failed in achievement, failed in progress, we had failed to close the achievement gap, and our grade when it came to graduating our kids was an F. Plain Dealer columnist Philip Morris captured the essence of that less than inviting introduction from last year's speech as painfully obvious. He also said Cleveland Public Schools CEO Eric Gordon is noticeably thinning out and appears to be losing his hair. I appear to have fixed part of that problem. This is my $14.99 cut from Supercuts. Hey, you gotta have a little fun. But describing what he saw as the replacement of my boyish face with that of a grimaced visage of King Sisyphus, the reporter said, "It's the face of a man tasked with rolling an enormous boulder up a steep hill, a hill that may prove impossible to crest." Certainly the writer wasn't the first and won't be the last to lament on the task of turning around long, struggling school districts like Cleveland's. In fact, many, many others over the years have acknowledged the enormity of the challenges that we face and have expressed their fear that these challenges may not be surmountable. Without a doubt, the task of raising achievement scores and graduation rates in a district that long failed both academically and fiscally is an incredibly heavy lift. Under the weight of years of declining local economies, cuts in state and federal funding, and a general distrust of public education, especially in America's cities, it's easy to see the glass as half empty rather than half full. Fortunately, CMSD's story is not the story of Sisyphus, the story of one man alone pushing a boulder partway up a hill only to watch it roll back down. One thing that makes Cleveland unique is that our story is one of many people, all working together, some pushing from behind and others pulling us forward, all with a common goal of ensuring that we reach that top. And our top, of course, is measured in student achievement. After last year's State of the School address, the Plain Dealer writer called for tangible evidence of progress, while at the same time acknowledging the steep hill and the fact that at the beginning of the Cleveland Plan journey, small victories do matter. Sometimes the needle of cultural change, he wrote, moves imperceptibly before it suddenly accelerates. As we started last school year, the groundbreaking House Bill 525 had passed into law, setting the stage for real reform in our city's schools. Issue 107 had passed, enabling us to reverse devastating program cuts as we began the year. And the district and the Cleveland Teachers Union had just completed negotiating a new labor agreement with significant changes in how teachers were hired, fired, paid, and how they used their time. But when I began my State of the Schools address last year, we were just 27 days into the school year, our first year with needed reforms in place. And I had declared CMSD already different, albeit imperceptibly at first. In fact, changes that were still imperceptible 1 year ago did accelerate dramatically during the course of a school year that I can only describe as a year of disruption. The 2013-14 school year will likely be remembered as the year that CMSD shook the status quo to its core and kept our promise to taxpayers and voters that the district cannot and will not tolerate business as usual in any area. I'll take that. With the Cleveland Plan, House Bill 525, Issue 107, and our new collective bargaining agreements fully in place, we introduced entirely new processes and procedures throughout the year, turning a backward-thinking system into a forward-moving one. The changes we made abolished decades of long-held practices in our district, state, and nation, and put many in our district and community outside of their comfort zones. With the Cleveland Plan fully underway, the bold and dramatic changes so many people envisioned for Cleveland Public Schools, and frankly, others feared for our schools, were suddenly real. Gone were the cycles of layoffs and callbacks for a staff that became used to budget deficits and revolving doors. In its place, a much healthier district was positioned for the first time in 10 years to recruit, attract, and hire new talent to fill hundreds of teaching positions. Gone were the work rules that put privileges of adults before the needs of children. A landmark collective bargaining agreement reduced the sway of seniority and for the first time allowed the district to make staffing decisions based on what was best for kids and schools. Gone were the subjective checklists that declared nearly every educator to have exceeded expectations, even when the ratings of our students were scraping bottom. In the year of disruption, more thorough teacher evaluations differentiated the very best from the most struggling educators and included real student achievement and growth data as part of every teacher's and principal's performance ratings. Gone were the days when every educator got a raise simply by working another year. Under new differentiated compensation systems, pay for the first time was tied to measurable progress and outcomes. Gone were the days of top-down management and a bureaucratic central office that governed the work of 100 schools with a one-size-fits-all approach. In the year of disruption, student-based budgeting shifted spending authority away from the central office to those who know the needs of their students and schools best. Gone were the days when poor performers continued to work in the district year after year without consequence. The non-renewal of a small number of underperforming employees last May drew great attention across the district and our community, and for many, the changes that were promised throughout the year were suddenly real. Last year, I stood before you on the 27th day of school and promised you that because our report card looked the same, the district must be different. 1 year later, after a year of disruption, I'm here to reflect on the results of the dramatic changes we implemented last year. So what is different? Well, I would argue a lot. After years of program cuts and staff layoffs, 232 new teachers and 27 new principals and assistant principals were recruited and hired by the Cleveland Metropolitan School District into our classrooms this year. In a decentralized school system, 85% of the teachers selected for positions in our schools were chosen by teams of principals, teachers, and parents, instead of being assigned by central office based on seniority. With the compensation system in place, with the evaluation system in place, 14% of CMSD's 2,861 classroom teachers were rated as accomplished, the very best possible performance on a new rigorous rating system. 4% were rated as unskilled and are now on growth plans. The remaining 82% are either developing or skilled and continue to work on their professional growth and improvement. And with the matching differentiated compensation system, those 14% of teachers that are rated absolutely accomplished received a raise this school year based on their performance. Many other skilled educators are making progress toward salary increases in the coming year, again driven by their performance and growth instead of their longevity. With student-based budgeting, schools now control 70% of their annual budget, compared to less than 2% when I stood here last year. And with greater autonomy given to our schools, money now flows to the student, and CMSD schools have more authority over spending, hiring, and enrollment as they're increasingly held accountable for their results. With an unwavering commitment to deliver a quality education and ensure results for Cleveland's kids, 42 poor-performing teachers and administrators were recommended for non-renewal and exited our system last May as well. The disruption of the 2013-14 school year was more than just a shift in organizational culture. It was truly a top-to-bottom overhaul of the entire Cleveland public school system, a year of disruption that yielded real, tangible results. Those systems, though, were changed with one goal in mind: to expand the number of high-quality school choices for our students and their families. And in 2013-14, CMSD continued to focus on school quality and choice as well. First, the inspired work of school design teams that included teachers, administrators, parents, and community members enabled us to start this year with 4 new high school models. The locally designed Cleveland High School for Digital Arts now offers students hands-on experience in game design, recording arts technology, digital filmmaking, and other arts, integrating the digital arts and core courses together. The Bard High School Early College, operated in partnership with New York's Bard College, enables graduates of this early college model to earn both high school diplomas and 2-year degrees in the same 4 years. 2 additional high schools, developed with a $3 million grant from the Carnegie Corporation, opened this year the Eagle Academy, using the Socratic method of inquiry to engage students in problem solving, and PACT, the Problem-Based Academy for Critical Thinking. Both are pioneering systems among a handful of their kind in the nation and are based on the mastery of standards, using flexible scheduling and a blend of classroom and online instruction. All of these new schools take advantage of flexibility schools now have in how student and teacher schedules are constructed, on the length of their school day, the design of their school calendar, so that learning, not seat time, is the constant for our students. To ensure college and workforce readiness, each of these schools are also distinguished by flexible learning spaces and use of modern technologies. These 4 new models join a growing portfolio of choices for Cleveland students and families, including Campus International School, our 4 gender academies, our 3 new tech high schools, our 3 John Hay campuses, Ginn Academy, and MC² STEM High School, to name only a few. And similar design work is in progress today on new programs to be offered at 3 of CMSD's existing high schools, John Marshall, Max Hayes, and Cleveland School of the Arts. In the fall of 2015, when their dynamic new school facilities open, new programs will open as well. And with a partnership with Ford Next Generation Learning, CMSD is actively working to engage employers, educators, and community leaders in building and sustaining career and interest-based academies to reinvent CMSD's remaining 3 career centers in the year ahead as well. In addition to the district's own work to offer new school choices, CMSD has additionally partnered with 13 high-performing community or charter schools. Carefully screened and selected based on past performance, or in the case of new models, the likelihood of strong future performance, these schools not only offer additional choices for families across our community, but they also model a much-needed shift in Ohio and the nation away from the fight over which schools own our children and toward whom best serves our children. By forming partnerships instead of rivalries, the district and charter schools now explore together how to serve all students more effectively, how to create easier access to families' school of choice, and yes, even how to use existing school facilities more effectively together. Even as we continue our work to build new schools and to launch new school models, the district takes seriously its responsibility to take aggressive corrective action in our lowest performing schools. With 13 investment schools identified last fall and an additional 10 schools identified in the spring for corrective action this year, CMSD educators, along with local and national partners, are fully focused on improving results across our city. In addition to the implementation of nationally recognized learning models, such as Expeditionary Learning, the New Tech Network, the Center for Transformative Teacher Training, and The Leader in Me, which is based on Stephen Covey's work around the habits of effective children, our investment schools have benefited from a strong partnership with Cleveland's United Way and with several local agencies, each of which have implemented a community wraparound strategy in these schools, and with a rapid growing partnership with Metro Health to bring school-based health services to these students and their families as well. Even as the school-based design work continues across the city, CMSD is also leading the charge in rapidly expanding access to early childhood education in our city as well. Since March of 2014, the Pre for CLE initiative added another 510 preschool seats starting this year as part of its effort to make high-quality early childhood education available to as many children in the city of Cleveland as possible. CMSD was able to expand access to 4-year-old preschool by 434 seats this fall, and our community partners added an additional 76 seats as well. And we are continuing to fill available high-quality seats in our community today until all 3- and 4-year-olds have access to early, high-quality education in the city of Cleveland. The design of new school options with flexible spaces and modern technologies, the investment and wraparound services directly in our schools, the exploration of space needs for charter schools, and the expansion of early childhood classroom spaces across our city underscores the need for a comprehensive facilities plan for our district and our community. Here again, the district has taken deliberate action in the last school year. In June 2014, the Board of Education adopted a master facilities plan aligned with the Cleveland Plan to ensure that CMSD continues to have the flexibility it needs to introduce new school models, to recruit and retain families into an increasing number of quality school options, to expand early childhood learning spaces, and to improve our overall facilities footprint in the next 5 years. On October 7th, Cleveland citizens begin casting their vote on Issue 4, the district's critical bond campaign, which will allow CMSD to replace 20 to 22 schools, improve an additional 20 to 23 schools, and to maintain our entire facilities footprint, while protecting our state's generous investment of $2 for every $1 we contribute. More than 30 neighborhood meetings last year and a protracted information campaign illustrates the district's commitment to helping our citizens fully understand how the current bond issue, which won't increase taxes, is designed to support the robust school design strategy that is the heart of the Cleveland Plan. Again, output means little if it does not deliver in results or outcomes. And I'm pleased to share CMSD's early results. As part of the Cleveland Plan, last year we focused aggressively on increasing meaningful parent engagement in the city. We worked to ensure that every parent attended at least one open house or student support team meeting or parent-teacher conference or other similarly meaningful event with their child's teacher. And as a result, 73.2% of parents district-wide engaged in a positive, meaningful engagement at least one time by the end of last school year. At this year's open house, which occurred just 3 weeks ago, schools reported a 9% increase in participation among high school parents over the year before, and a remarkable 26% gain in participation at the K-8 level. With the newly designed school calendar, which this year adds specific days throughout the year designed to engage parents and families, we expect this high level of meaningful parent engagement to continue to accelerate and soar. And we all know how vital meaningful parent support is for our students and their academic successes. By offering an impressive array of new school choices, deploying recruiters to help families identify quality school options, working with the Cleveland Plan's Transformation Alliance to market best choices to all families, and focusing on an improved customer experience when interacting with the district, we've slowed student enrollment loss in 2013-14, and this year's early enrollment figures are looking even brighter. But engaging families more effectively and attracting and retaining students only matters if our academic outcomes are improving. And here again, there are early signs of progress. Last fall, when new state reading requirements for third grade went into effect during the 2013-14 school year, only 37% of CMSD's third graders were on track to meet state requirements for reading. However, with intensive support that extended well into the summer, we raised that number from 37% to 86% by the start of the school year. Additional supports already in place are providing needed intervention to put every third grader on track for promotion. The forward movement is evident in many more ways on our report card as well. This year, CMSD improved on 15 state achievement indicators, but lost ground on 7. Fortunately, the positive rate of change is more than 2 to 1, with CMSD clearly making not only gains, but more gains on more indicators. These positive gains are only a beginning of an admittedly long journey. We've not yet met state indicators on the report card. However, the results show the movement we're looking for, and our performance index was 1/10 of a point shy of a district record set back in 2006. One of the most reassuring signs we saw this year was significant movement in our gap closing measure. The state's measure of Cleveland's success in closing the gap in reading, math, and graduation rates, regardless of race, gender, or income, increased by 20.1% this year. And we also saw some positive movement on our 3-year value-added growth measure. CMSD's lowest performing students maintained a grade of C, meaning students earned a year's worth of growth for a year's worth of instruction, while our 3-year average score for students with learning disabilities improved from an F to a C this year. Perhaps the most significant indicator of our forward movement is the continued progress we're making on our graduation rate, up another 5% this year, and a total of 12.1% since I became your CEO. This continued increase in graduation rate is true for every single student subgroup. Asian Americans up 5%, African Americans up 10%, students with disabilities up 12%, Limited English proficiency students, up 12%. White students, up 14%. Hispanic students, up 18%. And multiracial students, up 22%, all in the last 3 years. And oh, by the way, our graduation rate is a district record high. So what is the state of the schools on this September 30th, 2014? Is the glass half empty, or is it half full? Is CMSD a real-life incarnation of the myth of Sisyphus? Or are we a myth buster? An example of what Sisyphus might have been able to do had he had a plan. A plan maybe like the Cleveland plan. 2 years ago, the Cleveland Metropolitan School District faced academic and fiscal bankruptcy. The district's assignment to an academic distress commission seemed inevitable. Skeptics scoffed at any suggestion that CMSD could survive, but the pulse of this remarkable city proved them wrong. Were it not for the vision and courage of Mayor Jackson, our Cleveland coalition partners, and their followers and supporters in creating the Cleveland Plan, my message today would be dramatically different. I want to close my report on the state of our schools by expressing my heartfelt gratitude on behalf of CMSD's students, families, and educators to the individuals and organizations across this city who made the Cleveland Plan more than an elusive goal 2 years ago. Today, I feel privileged to share real, substantial progress on a recovery model that was made possible by a city that literally banded together to save the life of its schools. When a patient is gravely ill, medical practitioners work quickly to replace harmful effects with healthy ones. Unless it happens in the movies, no patient goes from near death one day to winning a match or running a marathon the next. Instead, in the real world, physicians check the patient's vital signs for evidence of progress day by day, altering their treatments and building on what's working. That's not unlike the daily challenge and the potential risks of working to save a system of schools, schools on which tens of thousands of children rely for their own survival and their hopes for a bright future. As old practices dissolve and new processes take hold, as new school models continue to emerge, the energy and spirit of a healthier CMSD are becoming more and more evident each day. Today, even with relatively flat performance on our overall report card, CMSD's vital signs are improving. Data which compromise the vital signs of any system shows that CMSD can move achievement. Strong achievement grades in schools like Campus International School, Douglas MacArthur Girls Leadership Academy, MC Squared STEM High School, our John Hay campuses, and Whitney Young. An equally strong value-added growth at schools like Hannah Gibbons, Harvey Rice, Louis Agassiz, Memorial, O.H. Perry, R.G. Jones, Scranton, and Warner Girls Leadership Academy show that we can achieve for any student in any school. Our overall flat performance as a district reminds us that we have not yet achieved for every student in every school. And that, of course, is the goal of the Cleveland Plan. If 2013-14 was the year of disruption, then 2014-15 must be the year of clarity, in which we focus exclusively on teaching and learning, using the systems and tools implemented last year to catalyze our work this year. When we do, CMSD can and will shift from incremental improvements to more substantial gains in the years ahead. The myth of Sisyphus is that of a never-ending task that is at the end a complete futile effort because his final goal of reaching the top is never realized. The end result may be the same one over and over again in mythology, but the story is different for one with a plan. The Cleveland Plan requires us to execute 10 years of education reform twice as well and in half the time. To some, that might seem Sisyphusian. And yet throughout this room are hundreds of people who believe otherwise and are part of that plan. After witnessing and reflecting on a year of dramatic change and progress, and as I look across this auditorium today, filled with those who helped make it possible, I can say with certainty that the state of our schools is promising and improving. Thank you for being part of the plan. Thank you. You can have a seat.
This could go on forever, but we're going to leave time for questions. So, today at the City Club of Cleveland, we are enjoying the 2014 State of the Schools Address featuring Cleveland Metropolitan School District CEO Eric Gordon. We'll return to Mr. Gordon momentarily for our traditional City Club question and answer period. And I would ask that you start formulating your questions now and try to keep them brief and to the point so we can get as many in as possible in our remaining time. Please be sure to tune into our City Club Friday forums on 90.3 WCPN, WVIZ PBS, 104.9 WCLV, or iDistream, or one of the many radio stations across the region and country that carry City Club programs. Television broadcasts of the City Club are made possible by Cleveland State University and PNC. On October 6th, the City Club will host the Ohio District 9 congressional debate between Marcy Kaptur and Richard May. For more information about our upcoming and past debates and forums, please visit us online at www.cityclub.org. Now, as Mr. Gordon mentioned, today's program is being made possible by our presenting sponsor, Forest City, and our supporting sponsors, KeyBank, PNC, and the St. Luke's Foundation. We also welcome guests at tables sponsored by several corporations and community organizations. We thank you all for your support, and everyone's listed in the printed program. Finally, today's program is the Bernice Kerrigan Smith Forum on Education, made possible by a generous gift from the Smith family, and we thank you for your support. Now, as promised, our traditional City Club question and answer period. We welcome questions from everyone here in the room today. Microphone stands are located on either side of the room, so please form a line by the microphone closest to you if you have a question. First question, please.
Eric, I want to thank you very much for the incredible work that you've done over these past years to really advance our school district. A couple of questions. Number one, what is the current graduation rate? And two, what is your plan goal for the improvement in the graduation rate over during this current academic year? And then finally, have any changes been made in your curriculum to facilitate graduates' preparation for the current job market?
Thank you. The current graduation rate is 64.3%, up from 12.2% from 52.1% when we started. What do I see in the year ahead? Now that we've set a path of 5% a year, we need to keep that path. We need to be that aggressive to make sure that we continue to close that gap between those who do graduate and those who don't. To the question of curriculum, we've made significant curriculum changes throughout the system, another one of the disruptions last year. We offer a wide more variety of advanced placement courses and have ensured advanced placement access in every high school now. We also now use an online tool that provides an array of accelerated courses in a multitude of topics that we would otherwise not be able to offer. We have moved to a lot of mastery-based, interest-based problem solving that is much more reflective of the career market as opposed to a simple college trajectory path. You see that in schools like the Digital Arts High School and others. And have worked hard in the core curriculum, 6 through 12, literacy and numeracy, and this year are investing in the core curriculum in reading K through 5. Thank you.
Hello, Eric. First, I want to just make everyone aware of a brand new website, knowyourcharter.com, that has been launched by the Ohio Education Association and Innovation Ohio. It allows parents to compare charter schools to their neighborhood schools, and I think that's very important for you to know. Yesterday, the U.S. Supreme Court decided to support the voter suppression that's going on in Ohio by Secretary of State John Husted, making it really difficult for students and working people to vote, which was the intent, but let me move on. What my question to you is there any plan by the school district to help transport our 18-year-olds to the Board of Elections, as you've done in the past, to make it possible for them to vote this year?
Thank you. So I would argue that voting is one of the privileges of our democracy, and that therefore school districts have a responsibility to teach that. We've been working with the League of, we can applaud that. We've been working with the League of Women Voters and others right now to ensure that our high school students who are now eligible to vote have enrolled, and we will continue to do that all the way through Monday when registration closes. Starting on Tuesday with early voting, we'll shift into our strategy to ensure that all of our students who are eligible and wish to vote do turn out at the polls. Some of that will likely involve making it part of our school day time, because it is curriculum. It is learning your right as a citizen in this country. Each school is working closely with our curriculum department through social studies. It's one of the core foundations of what will be happening through November 4th.
Thank you.
Thank you. Uh-oh, the tough ones are coming.
How do you do all this work without even getting tired for all these days?
What is your name, sweetheart? Would you tell me your name?
Ra'eli,
And where do you go to school?
Noonan Baker, School of Arts.
So I'm going to tell you a secret. Everybody else has to close their ears. So I don't have many bad days, but when I have a bad day, I go to a school and I meet someone just like you. And that's why I can do this every single day.
I don't know how to top that one.
Good, I don't either.
Yes. First off, let me just commend you and your staff on your success and your progress. You know, I strongly believe that the success of Cleveland Metropolitan School District in Cleveland will have a positive impact on our inner-ring suburbs. So my question to you is, how can our inner-ring suburbs, as well as our inner-ring school districts, support Cleveland Metropolitan School District?
So what I would say has been most useful in my tenure is that the inner-ring suburb superintendents, who all work collectively together, have welcomed and invited the Cleveland schools as a member. That's a big shift in thinking together. Those coalitions way back were designed because we didn't want to be Cleveland. We didn't want to interact with Cleveland. It was a paradigm in that time that was permeating way beyond schools. The fundamental shift of inquiring about what we might offer and letting us learn from each other and accelerating and advancing that as we do in that first string coalition, that is so valuable. And it's not just the superintendents. It's when my safety officers interact with theirs and share information and best practices, my communication people and theirs. And so continuing that open dialogue in that very candid way, learning from each other, being willing to ask of each other, that is so powerful and so meaningful to me and connects me into a broad region where I think that we can share what we've learned and inform others, and we can learn from you as well.
That's great.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Oh, another tough one. Here we go.
Hi, I'm an 11th grade student who is very committed to improving the Cleveland Metropolitan School District, and I wanted to know what are ways that students like me can help improve the school district.
So where do you go to school? Thank you. Where do you go to school?
I go to the Cleveland School of Architecture and Design.
Great, and what's your name?
Robert Moore.
All right. So Robert, what I would tell you is there's so much that you can do. There's some very concrete things and there's some very informal things. One is join your school's student advisory committee. That's the committee that meets with me 4 times a year for the full day and helps me to know what you're experiencing, what's working and what's not working. And I actually read all of the reports that come out of those and act upon them, change the way we do business because of what you told me. So join your school advisory committee. There's one in every school, and our first meeting is coming up right here at the end of the first quarter. So I'm going to need to know how the first quarter went. Do things tangible like that. But also do the intangible things. You know, one of the things people will say about a Cleveland school is, you know, that the kids don't present themselves in a culture of scholarship. It's not cool to be a good student. And so the only way that that's going to change is by you proving those people wrong and showing them how very important your education is and how everybody's education is important. One of your class peers from John Adams High School is here today. His name's Tavion. I invited Tavion because I was doing a school visit. He didn't know I was coming. I was walking the hall, and I saw one student who wasn't where he was supposed to be. You know that student. He was on the 3rd floor, then he was on the 2nd floor, then he was on the 1st floor, and he was always one step ahead of me. So I actually went up to the principal, and I said, there's a young man over here who isn't where he's supposed to be. The principal did nothing because Tavion was on him and walked him to class and put him where he was supposed to be. Those are the kinds of things that you can own in leading your school district. So keep doing it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Eric.
Good afternoon.
I'm a district teacher, and I have a question about Teach for America. It's been published in the district's contract with Teach for America that the district pays $9,000 over 2 years per teacher that's hired through that company. And my question is, wouldn't that money be better spent directed toward recruiting teachers from Ohio's in-state teaching colleges?
So people have very strong opinions on Teach for America. It is true that with Teach for America's contract, you pay for 2 years of support at $4,500 a year. That is a fact, it's true. The issue for us and for me is we needed 250 teachers this year. We're going to need a lot more next year. To get that recruitment done will not happen simply out of Ohio and has not happened simply out of our education systems. We've recruited widely and across the organization. Of the 250, only 40 of them are TFA. So for me, it's like every other part of the Cleveland plan, be agnostic to the form and seek the quality. There are great teachers coming out of Ohio's university, and there are great people doing great things out of TFA. Equally, there are poor people coming out of our universities, and there are poor people coming out of TFA. Be agnostic to form and go after where we're going to get the talent we need. And I would argue that we brought in 250 wonderful teachers, regardless of where they care from. That's what I'm very proud of.
Okay, Mr. Gordon, does the district have a plan to replace any of the aging schools still existing?
Reverend Cavness, good to see you. Thanks for being here. Reverend Cavness is an incredible supporter of schools and has been constantly. Thank you. Reverend Cavness, as I mentioned earlier in my speech, we have a plan approved by our board to replace between 20 and 22 schools, dependent upon how they are evaluated by the School Facility Commission, to update another 20 to 23 schools, which will give us essentially about an 88-school footprint, which seems right for the number of students we have and where they're spread across the district. The question now is whether we can pay for it, and that's what Issue 4 is on the ballot for right now. Issue 4 will match $2 for every $1 of those 22 new schools and will allow us to both build those new schools and to update those existing schools all in the next 5 years. And Issue 4 is not a tax increase, and so that's what Issue 4 is designed to pass.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi there.
What are you going to develop new in 2015 and 2016?
What am I going to develop new in 2015-16? Great question. So what we're focused on every single year is more school choices for you. So this year we're working on several new high school options. I mentioned a few. I mentioned redesigning our Max Hayes Career Center, redesigning our School of the Arts, and redesigning John Marshall High School on the west side. But there are other projects going on. We're also looking at what new schools we can do for younger students like you. And we're working on continuing to make the schools that we've already invested in work better. So this year is less about a lot of new stuff and about doing what we're already doing even better so that it impacts you. What's your name and where do you go to school?
DeAndre,
And where do you go to school, DeAndre?
Newton D. Baker.
All right, so we're working hard on an arts plan. That'll be really important to you. Congratulations.
Hello, my name is Renee Wren. I'm a part of the Promise Program, ambassador.
Great.
I've had the privilege of graduating from Glenville High School and also attending Jane Addams. So I did attend public schools, but they're quite different right now. The transportation is what concerns me for children going back and forth to schools. They go through different areas where there are gangs or some trouble that they may face. And when they get to school, they've gone through so much anxiety. I found out I've been able to volunteer at East Tech, and I find that's one of their biggest concerns right now, just getting back and forth to school, something I never even thought about. I guess I was privileged just to walk down the street and go to my school and not have that many problems. But however, our children are very concerned about getting back and forth. Even the distance, it doesn't really matter. It's just the dangers that they face. Is it a way we could provide better transportation for them to get back and forth to school?
Sure, so when I started as superintendent, that one of the first things I said we needed to address was transportation. At that point, every K-8 student had to walk 2 miles, and every high school student 3 miles to get to school, and we wondered why kids didn't come. We've made a lot of gains. So our high school students, if they live more than a half mile, get an RTA pass through a partnership with the RTA system so that they can use the public system to get to school. So that's really improved the walk zone. And that was after a lot of experiment. We tried shuttles and other things that failed. This is really seeming to work. Our K-8 students get yellow bus service until 1 mile. Now we have to address what happens in that last 1 mile. My transportation team is already looking at, again, what we can do to even more fully provide transportation. To close that 1 mile gap in particular, and also to serve preschool children as we continue to expand our early childhood. The other thing that I just am going to take an opportunity to point out is you probably noticed a beautiful new yellow bus fleet on the roads. Our board last year purchased a new fleet of buses to replace our aging fleet. I want to say this out loud because that purchase saved this district $500,000 a year compared to what we were paying to maintain a broken down fleet. So when you see those pretty new buses, see dollar signs being saved in those pretty new buses. And we'll keep working on transportation. It's critical.
Thank you.
Oh, hello.
Hi there.
One thing that I've noticed is that my teachers spend a lot of time and energy on teaching us things to help us pass like a lot of standardized tests that we have to take, like OGT and SAT and things like that. And it has been helpful. I'm a junior now, and I passed all of my OGTs my first time. But my concern is that we're focusing so much on passing those tests that we're not really obtaining the knowledge that or the things that we're learning, because all we want to know is that we memorize them for the test, and then after we pass it, it's kind of gone. So my question was, how do you feel about that?
So tell me your name and what school?
My name is Alicia McCoy, and I'm from Cleveland School of the Arts.
Excellent. Yeah, let's applaud her again, all 5 on time. So the first part of the solution is pass all 5 on time. If all of your peers, if we could get all of your peers, and it's a we, it's not your peers, it's not us, it's collectively we could get that test behind us, we could focus on a whole lot more stuff. So part of it has got to be this continued effort of you and your peers working with your teachers to get this behind us. The couple things that I would say is I was the academic officer before I became the superintendent. Not one time have I ever uttered the words teach to the test. I don't believe in it. But I will tell you that it's a very real pressure on your teachers because that is what we are judged on. And it's also a real pressure for your teachers because they know that your ACT and SAT and PSAT scores are what's going to measure what college you get into and what you deserve to have. So it's a real pressure. What's really been exciting, though, and the School of the Arts is a perfect example in redeveloping the curriculum, is how much we can help you learn that will show up on those tests through mastery and performance and all of the things that a School of the Arts is designed to do. And all of those new schools that I described and many others in the district are moving to mastery-based problems and projects where you have to know stuff in order to apply it, and you don't forget it when you had to actually use it. So I'm guessing that if you went into your dance class or whatever your art is, because you use those skills to do something bigger, you probably remember most of them. We have to shift from trying to remember what all the little pieces are to something bigger, and then when we put that test in front of you, you'll know what you need to know for the little stuff. And that's what's shifting in what's called the Common Core, which is new tests that are coming this year, that hopefully will finally be freeing from that teach to the test, but that will get to something bigger. That's the way to solve that problem.
Okay,
Thank you.
Well, hello, my name is Natalia. I attend Bard High School Early College. And my question to you is, what are your plans for supporting and nurturing these new schools as they grow?
So Bard High School Early College is one of the models. Are you in the first year or are you a freshman?
First year.
So first year, ladies and gentlemen, means that she is in 11th grade for high school, but in her first year of her 2-year associate's degree at Bard Early College. So we got to applaud you for that. So the district has a 4-year ramp-up strategy for our high schools as they're new. So we already are planning for next year when there's now 9th and 10th and second year and first year. How do we expand the faculty? How do we expand the resources? What's the budget that you need? Even as we're planning other new schools. So when we plan a new school, and you're actually standing very near the lady who is directly responsible for your success, she's just 2 tables over, wave Ms. Fowler-Mack. So Ms. Fowler-Mack right there, when she was working on that model, she wasn't looking at this year, she was looking at 4 years down the road. She already knows what it's going to take for your freshman peers to walk out that door as a graduate. She already knows what you're going to need next year. It's already in planning. So this is the whole Cleveland plan. New school choices along with attacking those that we need to fix, coming together so that everybody gets a quality school. So I promise you we're ready for you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. That it?
How about more applause? Today we have been enjoying the 2014 State of the Schools Address with Cleveland Metropolitan School District Chief Executive Officer Eric Gordon. Thank you very much, Mr. Gordon. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This forum is now adjourned.